this episode, we're getting our hands dirty with some wood. Right guys, so this is now episode 6 of the S3 project build. So we've done a lot to this car already, but it's finally time to get down and dirty. So we've done the wheels, we've done the suspension, we've done the exhaust, we've done the intake, we've done the head unit, we've done the cable runs, and many other bits and bobs, but now it's finally time to start working with some wood. Right, so building a subwoofer box. Now, the thing is, you could just slap a subwoofer box together, very simple, but what I always say to my customers is you could put a crappy subwoofer into a very well-made box. It'll always outperform a very good subwoofer in a crappy made box. So we're going to take our time and design this properly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you upstairs and show you the basis of building a subwoofer enclosure and how we do it here. And then once we've done that, let's get into the workshop and get this thing started. Right, so we're up in the office. Just going to quickly show you essentially the way you would design a subwoofer box, or the basis of that. So the first thing you want to do is find the parameters of your subwoofer. So what I'd normally suggest is either find the user manual that would have come with the sub, or go onto the manufacturer's website. So I'm on the Vibe website now. This is the screen for the BDC15 SPL, which is the sub we're using. So we're going to scroll down and find the user manual, which is just down here. So then what you do is you scroll down to find the parameters of the sub, which is here. So let me just zoom in quickly. Okay, so up here we've got the specs of the subwoofer. So this is just telling us part number, power ratings, sensitivity and stuff like that. But down here, if you look, it says enclosure volume. Now, majority of the time with most subwoofers, it will give you more of an accurate representation of what volume they want you to use, but because this is a SPL style subwoofer, you have a bit more leeway. So for this 15-inch sub, they recommend between 3 and 5 cubic foot for the box. The software that I personally use is a website called Speakerbox Lite. Now I quite like this website because it does give you 3D renders of your actual sub box design, and it gives you a more visual display of what you're actually going to be building. Now there is a free version of this which gives you majority of the features that you need to just quickly design a box, but the paid feature gives you the ability to actually change more parameters and add stuff like the bracing and whatnot. So, and here's one I made earlier. So this is the design of the subwoofer box we're going to be using. I have made this to be around 3 cubic foot. Now this is essentially as large as we can go for the area that we're using. So we're on the smaller side of the box, but within the manufacturer's recommended specs. So the good thing with this is I can essentially design it in whichever way I want. So as you can see, rectangular box, I've got the port and the sub up the top here, and then we've got the port legs here. So this is a labyrinth port. Then we've got that brace there, and then we've got the sub. So what this also shows us as well is graphs. Now you kind of take this with a pinch of salt because there's different factors in the vehicle that can come into play with the volume of output, so the SPL and stuff like that. So for instance, this one here, at my port tuning, which is going to be 33 Hertz, I'm up at 128 dB. Now, that may not seem like a lot. Now, I don't think it's going to be that quiet. I think it's probably going to be a bit louder than that. We've got that. We've got impedance rise for the different frequencies and the vent air velocity. These are the main things that I look at. Vent air velocity is pretty important because we don't want to be pushing too much air through that port and we'll get loads of port noise. So we're within our parameters there. So yeah, now that I've designed the box, I can go into drawing, and that will tell me all the sizes and specs of each panel. I can then print that off. I've also got a cutting map here as well. So I can print all of that off, cut all my sheets and put it all together. So I think it's time to get the car in the workshop, start cutting some wood. Let me show you what kind of space we're working with. So relatively decent amount of space to work with here. The main limiting factor is going to be my overall width to actually get the box in, because it kind of closes up here and here at the top. So essentially what we're going to do is make it to the full available width of the boot to get the box in and out so it is removable, which from here to here is around 860, and same for the top. And then we're going to basically butt it up to the back of the seats here and then make it level just to sit underneath the parcel shelf. Hopefully the parcel shelf will go back on. It's going to be very dependent on how much excursion we get out of the woofer, whether it's going to hit on the bottom of the shelf. Now I've got my cut list here. So we've done a few alterations of the overall measurements, all ready to go. And then that's how the box is going to look once it's put together. Let me show you a Blue Peter moment. Here's some I made earlier. Right, we're in the dusty wood room. I kindly got the workshop guys to cut all this for me earlier. So we've got my interior brace and then all the pieces of wood ready to go together. So plan for today is essentially stitch all of the box together, bar that top panel. We're going to paint the inside white and then work out what we're going to do, because we're going to put some LEDs in there and make it look all nice. I've had the bright idea of putting a little perspex window into this box because the basket's nice. We're going to show that, and obviously it's going to be lit up inside. Right, so this bit here is my window for my sub box. So I'm just routing out the hole, and then what we're going to do is then recess that so that the perspex sits flush with the rest of the box, and then we'll screw it all in. We want to get this done first so that we know then everything is perfect, ready to go in. We can start building the box. As you can see, I'm covered in dust. Of truth. Yeah, buddy. So we're at the exciting stage of actually putting, oh my God, putting this box together. So I've got my wood glue, got my pin gun. That's going to essentially tack the box together. And then I'm going to get some wood screws, join it all up, make it absolutely solid. And we're going to leave the top off and leave the port legs and the bracing out, and take it all upstairs, spray it up, and then we can put the lid on. Obviously I've got to cut the hole for the subwoofer out, and then cut the hole for the port as well. So yeah, exciting stuff. Let's get this on. Got it. Oh, it's tight. Like a glove. Okay, so update on progress. We're nearly there. So I've done the port. So we've done the labyrinth port on this. So we've got essentially one leg going down, one leg coming up, rather than just an L port. I'm in the process of doing the top panel. So I've cut out the cutout for the subwoofer, just about to route out where the port's going to be. And then we can take it upstairs, start getting it painted. now day 2. I've already started cracking on with today's job. So we need to order some sprayable filler for inside the box so we can spray that properly and look all nice and pretty. So whilst we're waiting on that, I'm going to crack on with getting these doors wired in. Now, I've already done that driver's side door, but essentially because this door does not have a normal grommet, it's actually a plug that sits in here like this. There's no way of basically getting wires through like a normal grommet. So what I have to do is essentially take this plug out and pin in new speaker wires and the locations of those. So a bit of a ball ache, I'll be honest, but it's not too bad. Essentially, I just need to get this door stripped, get the speaker out so I can access the wiring inside, and then pull this panel off, pull the plug out, and do some fettling and wiring. So once that's done, I'm going to probably concentrate on trying to get the batteries mounted in the back, so I'll probably put them in the location of the factory subwoofer in the left side of the boot. And then, yeah, see where we go from there. So let's crack on.
Okay, so finished up the front end, now I'm in the back end. We are basically now mocking up where we want to fit our batteries. So I've got 2 Stinger yellow top batteries here. These were out of another build that we did, so we've recommissioned them out of another build. This one being the smaller of the 2, not really a problem. I can kind of hide this away anyway. Because they're AGM batteries, you can lay them whichever way you want. This one, however, is a bit more of a challenge. Now, I'm thinking it's possibly going to lay here, like this, on the floor, because I've got rid of this area, this bit of foam that would normally sit here, and then this one might then sit down there like that. I mean, worst case scenario, this could always go behind the box, up against the seats essentially, as long as I've got enough space, so I need to just double check that, but yeah, just trying to work that out. So it's now day 3. Had a lot of fettling around with brackets and stuff yesterday, so we used a lot of time up. This bigger battery here I do still want to use, and I think here is probably the best place for it to go. So essentially I need to bond a plate down for that to sit on, and then do 2 little chocks either side, and then make another strap same as that to go over the top of it. And then my floor level will be the same, so it will look original. And then also I've had the idea of, rather than hiding the nice 6-channel audio control amp away, I'll put that on the front of the sub box. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. So this basically isolates the front battery to the back battery. So essentially, if I was to turn the ignition off, or turn the stereo off basically, that will lock the rear batteries from draining any power to the front battery. So I can actually play the system with the car off essentially, just with the stereo on. I can completely drain these rear batteries and then still have enough power up the front to start the car. I've been advised by the workshop, which is not something I knew, don't know everything, that when running 2 different size batteries, you need to isolate between them as well with another relay, so that
when the car's off, if any power's draining, it's not going to drain power from both. So this is going to be my main one that sits probably here or something. And that will basically be from the main battery to this one. We might even do it to this one actually. Go to this one first, and then we'll go from this one to that one. I have another small relay there. Hello guys, welcome back. It's now day 4. Main goal for today is to get the interior back in, well the back end of the interior back in. Got all my cabling here, got my fuse holders there. Hopefully I can start painting the box today. But yeah, still plenty to do. I'm mixing up some sprayable filler. Now that that's mixed, open up this bad boy. More bubbles. Pour it in. Close the lid, and there we go. Right, so we're finally in the paint booth. So I've got the sprayable primer. I've essentially done the first coat on all the parts. So this is the top of the sub, the very lid of it. So this will be basically upside down inside the box. This is our brace, that's going to be in the middle of the box. And then this is the box itself. I've done my first coat, so I'm just going to let that dry. It takes about 2 to 3 hours to dry fully. But I think I'll come back in about half an hour to an hour, do a second coat, and I think I'll be done. Oh. Another part that I've completed. It may not seem like a lot, but to keep everything nice and neat, I've done these wires. This sub doesn't come with like push down terminals like a normal sub would. It's solid wired into the coil of the subwoofer. So what I've done is I've extended those wires, snake skinned them all up, and put ring terminals on them. Now, at the same time, for the other side of the box, I've done my positive and negative. Because I want this box to be semi-removable, and my amp's going to be on the back of the seat, which is going to be fixed, I'm going to essentially put one of these in place. So in between here, this is called a fast plug. So that power cable is going to go in there, and then I can detach that from the amplifier and remove the box. So it's all fully removable, and as you can see with the boot, it's all essentially factory looking. So done an OEM plus SPL build. Okay, so whilst I'm waiting for that paint to dry inside the box, I thought I would trim my amp panels. Found a nice little scrap piece of Alcantara which I can use. So I'm just going to cut this up, spray it, trim it. Should be pretty easy. Lovely jubbly. Oh dear. Right. That is it. Not completely finished, but the first part is essentially done. It's been a bit of a slog. I'm not gonna lie to you, I am knackered. This has been about a week and a half on and off working on this by myself, but I feel like we've got a decent amount done for it to be done by myself, and obviously still back and forth between the shop and the workshop. So let me show you the exciting bit in the boot. There it is. So fits like a glove, as it should, and this thing weighs an absolute ton, but managed to make it work in the space that we had available. Still around that 3 cubic foot mark, so just within parameters of what the sub requires, and I think looks all right, to be fair. A nice big port. This just needs to essentially be carpeted, lights to go inside, my Perspex window to go in here, and that's ready to go in. But this is just dropped in for kind of show purpose at the moment. So yeah, building the box is a relatively simple but long-winded process. So, I mean, the first protocol is designing the box, and then it's cutting it all out. So we use 25mm or 1 inch thick MDF throughout the whole box, apart from the brace, that's 18mm. I kind of got the workshop to cut that out. I think that's the only bit that the workshop did for me or didn't do myself. But the rest of it, stitching it all together, it's just making sure that everything lines up correctly. So once that's all together, you pin it all, then we could screw it. And then it was a case of ordering that primer filler so that that goes inside the box, so then we can paint it white. And obviously something like this, you could build yourself at home. It's very, very dependent on your woodwork skills, the tools you've got available and the time you've got available. But yeah, what do you think? Drop a comment. Would you have done something different with the box? Would you have mounted it in a different way, put the sub on the front, port on the front? What do you think? You can probably see I've mounted the amp already. So I've got my 2 0 gauge powers, my 2 0 gauge earths already in. I've made a nice board for it to sit on, which is trimmed in Alcantara. Apologies, I'm a little bit out of breath after lifting that. And then if we take this bad boy out, it's a nice snug fit. There is everything else. Now, at the moment, it looks a little bit of a mess, but essentially the main parts are my big battery, my smaller batteries behind here, and we got my power cables ready to go, I've got my fuse holders ready to go. My earths are already strapped onto the body, and then we've got the speaker cables here ready to go, which have run to the front, and I'll show you that in a second. And that's to go to the amp that's going on the front of the box. And again, I've made a similar panel like this, trimmed in Alcantara, ready for that amp to go on. Let me show you what I've done in the doors. Okay, so obviously the sound ending and stuff we done, I think, on the first episode of the build process. So that's all still there. Now, the fiddly part of this job was running these speaker wires and this power wire here. Now, what this is for is because I'm running an additional 2 sets of speakers in each door. So I'm gonna have one 6.5, which is gonna run off the factory speaker cable, and then another 2 6.5s and 2 tweeters, or 3 tweeters in total. So this had to be pinned in to the factory plugs. We've essentially got 3 lots of speaker cable ready to go. Just need to cut this plug off. That one's ready for that speaker. Now, also in the process of waiting for bits to turn up, I got a little bit excited and I did fit a couple of extra parts. So jump in and I'll show you. Right, so the first thing is this bad boy here. Now it's a bit dusty, so let's just get rid of some of that. So this is a P3 gauge. So this was kindly sent to me by the performance company. And this is something I've wanted to put into a vehicle for a little while now. So this is it on now, started the car. This is currently on the boost gauge, so it's showing me minus 15 PSI of boost because it was just at idle now. But obviously if I give it a rev, we get some boost, and we've got a nice little gauge that goes up and down there. Now, as I said, that's not all it does. So if I click on this button here, that's showing me boost, showing me my coolant temp, my actual speed, my battery voltage. So for a car like this, modified, got quite a lot going on. I can check on all my parameters, I can check on my boost, my battery voltage and stuff like that. It's definitely something that I would invest in. It's something that's going to help me out throughout the entirety of having the car, and it looks wicked as well. And there was one other thing that I was sent by the Performance Company. Thank you very much, Performance Company. And it's under the bonnet. Let's have a look. Okay, so that special part is right here. So that is Turbo Smart's revised recirc valve. With these kind of engines, there's been so many revisions of the recirculation valve, which recirculates your boost pressure back into the intake system, and they're very much common to go wrong. Now, this is their replacement version of this, which is essentially a metal rod, which a lot of them are just like a rubber membrane and are very, very common to rip and tear, get boost licks and stuff like that. So they very kindly sent me this part to try out. Now with just fitting this, I noticed straight away that I got a bit more of a low-end grunt, that low-end torque, which probably means the original one that was in here was going faulty. Now, it's definitely going to help because of the extra weight that we're going to have in the back. I need that extra grunt. But let's go back to the rear end of the car. Okay, so what's next? Now, obviously, we need to get this finished. So, I mean, literally the only couple of bits to do left on here are trimming it, LEDs to go inside the box, and then everything to be screwed in. And then it's getting onto the doors. Now, this is going to be quite a big process. Not going to lie to you, I'm a little bit intimidated by it because it's definitely not something I've done before, but it's the first time for everything. So stay tuned for that next episode. Right, then that's it. Once those bits are done, we get to hear it. So definitely stay tuned for the next episode. Once again, thank you for sticking around. It's been a bit of a longer episode, but I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comments of this style video, of a build process and stuff like that. It has been enjoyable, definitely, but I've still got a long way to go. So stick around for the next episode. Make sure you like, share and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. In this episode, we're getting down to the nitty-gritty and putting our hands... Oh, no, that's fine. In this episode, we're getting down and dirty with some wood. In this episode, we're touching up some wood.